Welcome back to Who Would Win. Sorry, I'm really late on these, but I'm cracking out the two Who Would Wins that I missed in the What If today. This one comes to us from Superior Gaming 9898, who asked the question, who won a fight? Izuku Midoriya, aka Deku from My Hero Academia, or Asta from Black Clover? Now, when I first got the suggestion, because I've done both these guys on the channel, I think, no, actually, I've never done Izuku now that I think about it, but I have done Asta at least once. I am currently, I need to pick up the next volume. I can't seem to find the next one anywhere. I could easily go online, but that's not fun. I prefer actually to read the book and the manga in hand. When I first heard this suggestion, I'm like, this at first seems kind of like a no-brainer in some ways. But then when I really think about it, I was like, no, not quite. So, Izuku Midoriya, also known with a superhero named Deku, is a student, or was, I can't remember I don't know if he's graduated in the story, in My Hero Academia, My Hero Academia is the name of the series. I can't remember, UA. Basically, he was a student there, and he basically wants to be a pro hero. He was an individual who was born without a quirk, without a mutant ability, if you will. Most people, like 80% of the population, actually in his world, actually has an ability of some kind. But thanks to All Might, he passed down his ability of One for All. Now, what a One for All is, if you're not familiar with My Hero Academia, is, I believe All Might kind of put it, it's a crystallization network of power. What it does is he consumed the DNA of All Might through a piece of his hair, digested it, and essentially it passes the ability on. Now, what it does is, basically, it's a physical... It is a physical increase. What's the best way to put it? It's a physical augmentation quirk. Basically, it's super strength, speed, durability, all that. But the specific nature of it is, by passing it down to each individual, you're basically collectively stockpiling the powers of all those individuals into one person. So Deku, I believe, is the 8th holder of it. Yeah, he's the 8th one, is he the 8th or the 9th? I can't remember that part. All Might and the original guy had it, and then there were 6 other people between that, so I think he's the 9th. But essentially, he had a lot of difficulty using it at first, because it just wreaked havoc on his body, because he was going all out from the start. However, he learned to control that using what is known as full cowl, but it's just at low percentages. Right now, his maximum is about 30% without really damaging his body, although it feels, as he said, I think he once said, at 30%, it felt like his bones are breaking. He can use, it wasn't 30%, that was actually in the movie. 20%, sorry, it's 20%. Generally speaking, though, anything below 20% is generally okay. When he uses full cowling, he's extremely fast, especially when he ups his percentages to certain degrees. Capable of moving almost faster than the eye can see, almost. Strength-wise, he's capable of smashing through objects like stone pretty easily. But again, he's only capable of using about 20%, and that 20% it really starts to wear on his body. If he goes beyond that, he will be extremely powerful, but he will, unfortunately, cause severe damage to his body. That being said, Deku also has a keen intellect, keen battle analytic abilities. Is also a relatively skilled hand-to-hand fighter, because that's the nature of his quirk. Well, not the nature of his quirk, but this quirk, it's fighting style. At higher percentages, he can actually cause gusts of wind. He also will end up developing other quirks due to the nature, like the quirks of all the former One-for-All users who had quirks. The only one he's activated right now, I'm not this far in the manga myself, but I have looked into it, so I do know this, is something called Black Whip, which is essentially it's like energy whips, essentially. He can use them for multiple effects, except for the fact that he really can't use it in combat right now. So, Black Whip's something that doesn't appear to be on the roster for the fight, so can't really include that in the fight, unfortunately. But Deku is extremely powerful, and even for his young age, he'll continue to get stronger because he is the main protagonist. Asta is a well, he's not a magic user, he's an anti-magic user in Black Clover. In Black Clover, almost everyone can use magic, except Asta was born without the ability to use magic. So because he can't use magic, he's actually capable of using anti-magic, which basically negates the effects of all magic around him. And this anti-magic comes in the form of usually swords. He's learned to become quite skilled swordsman because of it. That being said, he can also cover himself in anti-magic, which increases his physical abilities. His ability to negate magic just increases from there on. That being said, he's not a bad swordsman. He's pretty skilled at fighting. He's not dumb, despite how it may come off. But one thing you should know is that he is actually physically, like, for someone his size, build, and age, he's at his physical peak. He's at his physical, because to compensate for his lack of magical abilities, he basically kept training his body to the umpteenth degree. He can punch through a stone and move well above average. So even without his anti-magic enhancing him, he's actually quite capable in the physical altercation. So if these two met in a fight, who would win? Asta maybe is like fighting some individual. So their magic causes them to go into My Hero Academia. Unfortunately, misunderstanding happens. Deku has to fight, and they fight. Now, right about Asta's anti-magic wouldn't do anything in the My Hero Academia world. As far as I know, we haven't met a quirk yet that is magic, like allows you to do magic. We haven't met a quirk that does that. So, and the quirks aren't magic; they're biological abilities. So his anti-magic, in terms of like negating magic, isn't going to do anything. So really, all Asta has is blades in that sense. Now, even if he wraps himself in anti-magic, the anti-magic itself isn't going to do anything against Deku. But that being said, the increased physical ability he'll gain from that would still aid him in a fight. So Deku, gives him a warning, and Asta, being a little stubborn, probably like, I don't want any trouble. You don't want any trouble. Stay out of my way. And then basically the fight happens. No, Asta pulls out his sword, and Deku punches it. Now, these blades, by the way, as far as I know, aren't very sharp. They're actually pretty dull, because they're not designed for actual cutting. They're designed for more melee and cutting through magic. Yeah. But, they still collide. Deku, his hand's hurting a little bit, because his base percent right now, at least where I am in the manga, is around 5%. He probably has increased to probably like 8% at this point. But even that, I think Asta's got enough physical strength to actually compete with Deku. I think once Deku gets up to like his 10, 15, 20% full cowl, at that point he would outclass base Asta in strength. Not by a lot, but by enough. Speed-wise, though, I do think Deku has a speed advantage, at least against base Asta. Once we get to like, anti-magic Asta, then you can make an argument. I've heard some people say he has some light speed-esque feats. I have not seen that myself, but I've actually never. I watched the first 2 episodes of Black Clover. I haven't read the manga. That's probably another one I should really get into, in terms of reading, is that one. So Deku, after avoiding that, Asta pulls out the big flat broadsword and just swings at Deku, gets away. Deku then comes in and starts blitzing Asta, who admittedly probably has good enough reflexes that he can react to Deku, but that doesn't mean he can actually stop Deku, who's actually now probably blitzing him. Deku's probably, actually getting... And Deku, I think, is probably more skilled hand-to-hand fighter, because he actually had to train to... Because that's his style. He has no weapon. He has currently no other abilities that would aid him in combat besides his physical abilities. So he only has physical combat. So I think he'd have to be the slightly more skilled individual in that regard. So, he's getting asked in like an arm lock and stuff. It's like, this is over. It's like, you let me go. And then, he goes into anti-magic Asta, who at that point now is at least comparable to Deku, if not greater. So these guys are now kind of duking out back and forth. Deku's doing nowhere near as much damage now with his hits. He's trying to figure out, what kind of quirk is this? And Deku's now just struggling to just even do anything to to Asta. Asta now just kind of like throws some anti-magic like straight into Deku, and just kind of like a giant arm or whatever, if you assume he can do that. And, pins him to the wall just to stop him. but Deku just powers up all the way to 20% and just blasts through it because, again, it's not magic, so the anti-magic probably only has enough of strength in terms of like energy to block him to some degree. So, he blasts through that and then lands a straight punch to Asta, who, is now reeling a little bit, but still's like, and then get back up and duke it out back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It goes to the point where both these guys are just kind of huffing and puffing. Eventually, I think it would be, the question is who, it's going to be an endurance run, really. I think, though, in terms of, like, willpower, stamina, and physical ability, I think Deku is going to be the one who probably stands taller. Only because we've seen, now again, I'm speaking for someone who really hasn't read or watched a lot of Black Clover, but we've seen that his tenacity is extreme. His ability to keep getting back up, his pain tolerance is off the chart. He constantly was breaking his fingers over and over again, and even re-broke them again to fight Todoroki. So his pain tolerance is through the roof. And Asta's probably, I guarantee you Asta's no slouch either. But ultimately, I think when it's all said and done, it's all about who wants that fight, who's going to want that fight more. And I think that Deku was going to want that more because he's fighting on the behalf of believing he's a hero and stopping a villain, whereas Asta just doesn't know what the hell's going on. So I think that little X factor in the personality is really going to be a factor in this fight that ultimately I think leans it towards Deku. But to be fair, if anyone's going to argue for Asta, and you can go right ahead, I'm really not going to argue that point. I'll be honest, this is one of those fights where my confidence level in who I think would win, not the highest. I think there's definitely a solid amount of versions where Asta wins this. I think Deku, though, takes the majority. Maybe not a large majority, but a majority nonetheless. But what do you think? Do you think it's Asta or do you think it's Deku? Put in the comments below, let me know. Again, Deku or Asta. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below, because at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, Super Magic, what if, anything to do with the channel. Put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. So I got another who would win and a what if. Also, I've got the review for Dr. Sleep coming out. So, we're going to see that later tonight. Probably do the review tomorrow. Thanks for watching, though. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.